Welcome, friends, to the Someone Gets Me podcast. I am your host, Dianne A, and I am so delighted that you're here. This podcast was created because I believe there is a visionary leader inside each one of us who is waiting to be seen. In each episode of Someone Gets Me, you will hear useful tips from successful visionaries who will share their stories about how being seen has allowed them to take their vision out into the world with action. Visionary leaders have different operating systems. Hi, friends. It's Dianne here at Someone Gets Me, and we're talking today about visionary leadership and how we operate. Now, I've been to lots of entrepreneurial conferences and I've been around for a while. And every time I hear somebody talk about the entrepreneur brain or the visionary leader, which I even have a book with meditations for visionary leaders. I've been using this term for a long time, and just now people are starting to use it, and I just think it's funny. So I started thinking about these things, and I realized that most of us who are visionary leaders are also gifted and probably have some intuition and empathy skills, and we're neurodivergent, maybe some ADHD. We have lots of different constellations and mixtures of things that set us apart a bit differently. Thus, I think we have a different operating system. Now, we hear the term neurodiversity a lot in the world lately. And I think, in a way, all of us are neurodiverse because no two people are the same. Our brains are the same but different. We have different sensitivities and overexcitabilities and creativity and connection. And then you add on to that our autobiography. So many factors come into how we operate in the world that I think all of us are a bit different. But I think a common denominator for a visionary leader is the fact that we have a different operating system. Most of us process things rapidly, even if it doesn't come out of our mouth right away. Most of us see things 2 to 5 years in advance. Many times in my career, I would come up with a really great idea, or I would see something about neuroscience or about psychology or about how to function in the world. And I would create the model, and often I would get dismissed and I would get dejected, and I would go, this doesn't make sense. It makes sense to me. Why can't you all see it? And then 3, 4, 5 years later, those very same people who dismissed me come up with this great idea. And guess what? It was exactly what I presented years before. Now, when I was younger, I used to resent that, and it would upset me, and I would have a hard time with it. Now that I'm older and a lot wiser, and I've seen this happen with myself and many of my clients, that we have to learn how to understand that when you're ahead of the curve, then sometimes people miss the mark because they can't see what we can see. That's why we're the visionaries. So how do we bring our vision into the world when most of those other people are not able to see it yet? Now, there are some people in our lives that I call our ambassadors that believe we can see it and believe in us and back us up and go with us. And then when it shows up, they go, yeah, see, you were right all along. Happens all the time. And there's also a lot of naysayers out there. So I want to talk a little bit about how our operating system is different and how we can understand that because it's a different system, that we can honor other people who can't see what we can see. But most importantly, we do not negate or marginalize what we can see. Understanding that the world around us can only receive so much at a time, and it's growing and changing and morphing. And everything that we see, that we know, that we're bringing forth from our heart's desire will come to fruition. We must learn how to navigate a world that often doesn't understand until finally they do, right? And so one of the things that I'd like to talk a little bit about is that we want to pay attention to who the audience is. Whether the audience is another group of entrepreneurs, a client, our friends, our family, and all different people, who is it that we are sharing the vision with? Now, oftentimes, most of my clients who are the visionaries are kind of like the black sheep of the family, where most of the family doesn't understand them. That's not the case 100% of the time, but it's often there. And so I always say, go about doing your vision and bringing it forward in a pace that works for you, supported by the people who are in your corner. If your family or people close to you, some of them don't understand, that's great. But don't tell them right away. Tell them a little bit down the road, because in their heart and in their mind, they want to support you. They just can't. They don't know how. They're not there. So you don't hold it against them, and you allow them to join in on the celebration of what you're doing when they're able, by telling them when there's something there they can see. It's really magical to not talk about something too quickly so that the people around that can't see it yet won't negate it or won't marginalize you, right? It's easier that way for everybody. Now, the other side of the coin too is you want to hold your cards kind of close to your chest and have your inner circle, your trusted circle, but also to realize that not everybody has your best interest in heart. And there's a lot of other people who would love to take your idea and make it their own and beat you to the punch, which is sad, but that's what people do. In fact, many years ago, it was probably 15 years ago now, maybe, or maybe more. It was more than that. It was closer to 20 years ago now. I was speaking at a gifted conference, and it was in Orlando, Florida, and a lot of my clients came. And before the conference, I had made up those little rubber wristband things. They were real big and popular. And on it, it says Dianne A, mentor. Now, nobody was using the word mentor at the time. And in fact, some people didn't even know what it meant in the gifted arena. So I explained that a mentor is somebody who looks at the whole purpose of the person's life and helps get the whole part of it working together. And so people didn't understand. Now people use the word mentoring all the time when maybe some people don't even know what it means. And so there were people who made fun of it, and there were people who didn't get it. But here's another thing. There was somebody there who was gifted who would have called themselves my friend, my colleague, somebody I trusted. And they took that word mentor, and within a week of that conference, their website was changed. They took the word coach out and they put in the word mentor. Do you think that was an accident? I don't think so. And I asked the person about it. I said, how come you changed your website? And they looked at me like I was crazy and like it was always there. But I know it wasn't. So you want to understand that if it's okay for someone to use the ideas you're coming up with and it's not going to cause resentment or upset, fine. But if it's something that you want to be the author of, then you probably want to hold it close to your chest with trusted people, because you're a visionary, because you're ahead of the curve. There's great asset in that. And it takes taking care of yourself and taking care of the vision that you're having. A lot of times, people who are ahead of the curve love to have novelty and creativity. It's a common sign of people who are gifted, and it's a common sign of people who have ADHD as well, where we like the new and we like the creative and we like putting things together and we enjoy that. That's an asset that you have. Novelty is not a bad thing. Novelty is a great thing. Another thing that I bet you do is you thrive under pressure. Like, I love pressure. Well, I don't necessarily love it, but I thrive under it when it comes time to get things done. In college and in graduate school, I would always get my paper started or get my project started, but it was the final getting it together and putting it together at the very last minute that really turned me on and got me excited about the class, even if I was ready. I love to thrive under pressure. Now, as an older person who's been thriving under pressure most of my life, I now temper it a little bit and allow myself to say we don't have to have that much pressure. So you can regulate how much pressure you put yourself under, but realize that there are people that like do all their homework early or get all their projects done early. And then there's us, the visionaries, the people that get distracted really easy or are doing multiple things at once or are thriving on novelty. And then, we have to get the thing done at the last minute. That pressure helps us get things done. So that's one of the ways you can tell that you're operating system is a bit different. Why? Because the way you approach doing a project or taking care of something is not average. It's not simple. It takes a little bit more to understand how you do it. We also are people who are quite sensitive to others. Visionaries can feel what other people are thinking in a way, right? I was just speaking to another visionary earlier today, and this person was talking about the fact that they were in a meeting and they could feel what the other people in the meeting were kind of thinking, and it sent some alarms in them, like, I don't know, it just doesn't, they're saying it's not a big deal, but maybe it's a big deal, because it felt like a bigger deal energy wise than what they were saying. And so it took a little bit of discernment and question asking for my friend who's the visionary to discern how come the words and the energy of the person speaking to her was not working very well. It was off a little bit. But once there was clarification, everything lined up. So as a visionary, we can tell if what's going on behind the scenes is the same as what we can see in front of our face. Oftentimes visionaries make the error sometimes of responding to the energy, responding to what's going on behind the scenes rather than what's in front. And it confuses the person who doesn't realize that a visionary can see it. It's as real as can be for us. And so if you're one of those people who always can tell if the words aren't necessarily matching the feeling, or if your gut says, hold on a second here, what is going on in front of me isn't necessarily all there is, that means you're a visionary. Whether it's real or imagined, right? Whether it's real or imagined, we can see it. Now, a lot of people in the world don't realize they're doing this, don't realize that what they're saying and how they're acting doesn't line up with their energy, doesn't line up with what's going on behind the scenes. So you might say, well, how come you're saying this, but I'm feeling this? The person may not even be aware that that disconnect is happening in them. I know lots of people who, if I was to say, well, hold on, your energy is different than what you're saying, they wouldn't understand that because they're not aware of the inner disconnect that they're experiencing. So to them, it's all aligned. So as a visionary, we have a unique ability to see and operate in a way that is greatly meaningful and really helps us chart a course that is beautiful, and we're not always understood. So it matters that we have a small group of people around us that are kind of like our brain trust, or those people who support us. Now, visionary leaders are natural entrepreneurs. I never liked that word for a long time. I always said, well, I don't know, I just didn't like it. Now I like it. It was one of those things, but we're natural at it. We can create businesses and create ideas and move projects forward in ways that a lot of people are surprised, myself included. People look at me and say, how did you create all of those things? It's natural to me. My operating system is different than a lot of other people's, and so I just keep doing it. I know many entrepreneurs, and we can't help ourselves. We're creating things that we can see that is forward thinking that other people can't yet see, but people will. They'll see it soon. It just takes a little while, and it takes us to hold the high watch, so to speak. And so if you're a natural entrepreneur, or you're working in a corporate world, or you're working for other people and you're thinking, man, I should run my own business, I should do my own thing, then maybe you're more of a visionary than you give yourself credit for. And if you're already following your visionary leadership skills and you're already doing the amazing things, then understand that your operating system is what has set you apart. And when you embrace that, it allows you to keep going without a lot of the friction in the world that makes things feel hard sometimes, because there is a real struggle once in a while. When your executive functioning is different than others, it can add friction to your life. It can make things a little bit difficult. So we want to make sure that what we're doing is serving us, and that we're decreasing the friction by harmonizing with the world the best that we can. So we want to plan what we're doing. We want to keep our priorities straight. We want to make sure that what we're focused on is something that we really want to engage in and that we want to finish. Those are important. They're very important for us. Another thing that I think is important is movement. Movement. Visionary leaders need to move, not only move our bodies so that we can feel and see and experience the energy, but so we can discharge it and let it kind of keep flowing, right? But we also want to move our ideas, move our thinking, move our emotions. And we want to move in the spiritual realm. And spirituality for me means how I'm connected to the greater good. So we want to keep movement. So if you feel stuck, if you're a visionary and you feel stuck, move. Go for a walk, do some silly dancing. Sometimes I'll just sit here and move my shoulders and or move my feet a little bit and just move, sitting in my chair. And it helps keep my operating system going. It keeps my prefrontal cortex in line and calms the system so that the excitement of the system and the goodness and the fun can remain, because it can be very difficult to be a visionary leader. It can be very challenging because we're ahead of the curve. We see things differently. We feel differently. We have all these different ideas. Things are not the same as the people around us necessarily. And there's so many different things. So what I suggest for you, visionary leader, is a structure. Now, not a rigid structure to the point where you're going to repel against it, right? But I kind of imagine a structure that's kind of like scaffolding, that has a foundation and you can climb up on whatever side walls you want or whatever. And it gives you a basic structure and a basic framework, because it's within that structure and framework that you can create your own sense of freedom. So freedom is not just being out here flailing in the wind and not necessarily knowing what's going on. That's not freedom. What is freedom is having a structure and a groundedness and a focus and a purpose so that you are then free to engage in the world in an interdependent manner. And interdependency is very important, and it has to do with the fact that I know what I bring to the table and I honor you for what you bring to the table. And together there is a synergy of something beautiful. So all people, whether you're visionary or not, have great value. All people have a wonderful role, because if everyone was a visionary, who would do all the other things? And so if you're a visionary and you're trying to do something that's not meant for you, it's going to feel all staticky. That's the friction. So I encourage you to make sure that you have yourself a structure. I imagine scaffolding, and I imagine like, that I can climb up over here or climb up over there, or get a view this way or get a view that way. And I'm able to then see things in a more expanded way, because I have the freedom, but I have also the safety and security of my structure. That's where the paradigms come in. That's where understanding that the extreme part of independence, like we are when we're teenagers, of I just want to be free and have no rules, doesn't serve us. Just like it doesn't serve us to be dependent. It's much healthier to be interdependent. And visionary leaders thrive with interdependence, because your great idea and my great idea and our amazing ability to see things beyond what's right in front of us, we can see the higher, bigger picture. We can feel into it. There's a synergy there that explodes greatness or explodes hope and joy. And it's in that the visionary leaders thrive. It's in those moments that we come together to do something magical and amazing for the world. So I suggest you make friends with your operating system, whatever that system is, because we're all a little bit different. And I suggest that you learn how to work within your system and create the scaffolding that supports you, that allows you to have your novelty and your pressure and your excitement, and allows you to rest and be creative in the way that matters to you. Make sure you connect with other visionary leaders and other people who understand your quirkiness and your difference. Because what I do know is that your operating system is perfect just as it is. What I do know is that you bring something amazing and magical to the world. So go out there and let your light shine And remember to keep your face to the sun so the shadows fall behind you, because you're a rock star. You're here on purpose with a mighty purpose. So go out there, let your visionary leadership show up and see all the amazing things that happen for you. Until the next episode of Someone Gets Me, this is Dianne saying, be well. Thank you for listening. I trust you gained some valuable inspiration and information. Please join me and other visionaries in the Someone Gets Me Facebook group. Or for more information on my services and additional episode's, visit someonegetsme.com. Again, thanks for listening.